Most of you aren't stuck because you lack faith. Most of you are stuck because your faith is planted in the wrong environment. If the soil is toxic, it doesn't matter how great of a seed it is. If you're in the wrong environment, you won't see any fruit and you won't see any progression. I know this is true because Jesus never told us to have massive faith. He told us that we could move mountains if the soil was right. Check out 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verses 6 through 7. Also check out John 15 and 5. Today we're talking about one thing that God uses to grow everything. I promise you, this is not hype. This is motivation. It's real and it's backed by scripture. So I was in church yesterday, and this is where this video is being inspired from. I was in church yesterday, and my pastor was preaching on the mustard seed. And anybody who's ever heard of faith has heard of having faith the size or having faith as a mustard seed. As the pastor was preaching, I always take notes every week and go back throughout the week and study them. But as I was taking the notes, I realized something powerful that showing me 3 different characteristics of the mustard seed that apply to men, fathers, and spiritual growth. So I'm going to break this down to you guys because this is actually something that's going to change the trajectory of what you're doing right now. And if you can apply this to your life, I'm going to give you the understanding, the knowledge, and the application. If you apply this to your life with application, I promise you, you're going to see change. The mustard seed doesn't grow because it's strong. Like if you see a mustard seed, when you're watching this video, pause the video right now and go look at the size of a mustard seed. It's like this big. It's very small. But the mustard seed doesn't grow because it's powerful or it's strong. It grows because it's in the right environment. And when the pastor was preaching, he said it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the fight, or it's the it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight inside the dog. And that's how he described the mustard seed, because the mustard seed is very tiny. And if you were to look at the mustard seed, you wouldn't think it has the capacity to grow or to be something big. But if you look it up, a mustard seed can actually grow to be about 15 feet tall. So something that's very small can be very powerful on the inside. And that's what he was saying. And when the mustard seed is in the right environment, growth is automatic. So that's what you're going to do today. You're going to figure out how to put yourself in the right environment so you can flourish and so you can grow. So there's 3 things that a mustard seed embodies to become one thing. And we're going to take those 3 things and apply it to our lives. So the 3 things a mustard seed needs to thrive is it thrives in fertile soil, it grows densely and pushes weeds out, and the 3rd thing is it produces fruit in all seasons. And when I say all seasons, a mustard seed can grow in all seasons. It can withstand frost. So the number 1 thing is it flourishes in good soil. So the number 1 thing you have to remember is that the seed grows based on the soil, not the seed itself. Just because it's a seed and it's big or it's small, it doesn't matter the seed. It matters what the seed is in, what the seed is around. So the mustard seed has the soil. The same thing applies in our lives. We are the seed of our lives. We are us, and we are the environment. The mustard seed needs the correct environment or the right soil to flourish and to grow. And just like we do, we need an environment that is conducive to help us grow and be productive, and to see progress in our life. You can't grow in environments that encourage foolishness. You can't grow in environments that reward irresponsibility. If you're someone who is late to work and the environment's like, okay, I'm late. Yeah, you're late to work. Okay, that's fine. You can't grow in that type of environment. You can't grow in an environment with your friends who celebrate sin. You can't grow in an environment where laziness lives. If you have friends or family that are lazy, you need to depart from that environment, because that environment isn't conducive to growth. You can't grow in an environment that makes fun of discipline. Oh, he's trying to eat healthy. Oh, he's trying to be a good person. Oh, he's trying to help people out. You cannot be in environments that are going to make fun or discourage you from being a good person or a good father or a good dad. Because if you do, you're not in the right soil, you're not in the right environment, you will not grow. So some of the environments you need to remove yourself from is partying, mediocrity. You need to remove yourself from spiritual emptiness, from gossip, drama, and hate. There's so much of this in just the day-to-day, like your work life, where you go to work and you hear people gossiping, you hear people talking down on others, you hear people spreading toxic information, or you just have toxic relationships all around you. And you need to remove yourself from this, because if you're not in the environment to grow, or if the mustard seed is not in the right soil, if you're not in the right environment, you will not grow. It's impossible. You'll put yourself in that environment. You'll think just because you dug a hole and covered yourself in soil that you'll grow, but it's not going to give you the fruit that you're looking for, because you're in the wrong soil, you're in the wrong environment. So the key thing you need to do is figure out what your environment looks like right now. Take an audit of every environment that you go to on a day-to-day basis. Is it your job? Is it school? Is it college? Is it wherever? Where do you go on a daily basis and audit yourself? Is this environment going to help me win? Is this environment going to help me move forward? Is this environment going to help me grow? Or is this environment going to pull me down slowly and unconsciously? So now that we're aware of our environment and that it may be toxic or not conducive to the things we want to do or the visions we see ourselves in life, we need to replace those environments with good environments. So instead of going out and partying, we need to sit down and we need to find friends who are willing to work out on the weekends, or they want to sit down and brainstorm business ideas. Instead of being around people who are always toxic and who are always gossiping, find friends or men that are going to pray for you. Find men that are going to uplift you. Find men that are going to encourage you. Instead of hanging out with the crowd that gossips and talks toxic energy into everyone, hang out with the people who are speaking life into your situation, into your visions. Instead of hanging out with people who are broke and don't make any money, and I'm not saying that in a negative way, but there's people who don't make money and they don't care that they don't make money. So instead of hanging out with those people, go hang out with the people who are financially stable, the people who steward their finances, the people who take care of their money and budget their money. Hang out with people over there. That way you'll see the transformation in your life. Here's a scripture that reminds me of being in the right environment. It's Psalms chapter 1, verse 3. The person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields or which produces its fruit in season, and whose leaves do not wither. Whatever they do, they prosper. So no matter what they do, because this tree is planted by a river, or because this tree is planted by the right environment, or in the right environment, it's going to produce fruit and it's going to prosper no matter what. So that's what we need to do. We need to put ourselves in the right environment. Okay, point number 2 is that mustard seeds grow densely and suppress weeds. So when the pastor was preaching, he was talking about how the mustard seed, once it gets down into the right soil, it starts to break open and it starts to disperse. And most seeds that are, once they start to grow, their root system it's very thin, so it can be broken and weeds can start to grow in and overtake the plant. So with a mustard seed, the mustard seed grows its roots and its root system, and then the way it grows is so dense that the root system actually forces weeds out. So when weeds try to come in the environment of where the mustard seed is trying to grow, it has the strongest foundation and the strongest root system, that when the weeds try to come up, it's too dense, they have to go out. There's no way it can go up through one of the roots. And that's how we have to be when we are planted. Once we figure out how to get in the right soil, that right soil will start to make us flourish and our root system will start to come out. And once our root system starts to come out, it'll automatically start pushing the negative things and the negative people out of our lives. None of that stuff can affect you the way it would if you were in the wrong environment. If you're in the wrong environment and that stuff starts to happen, you're going to easily start to crumble. But if you're in the right environment around the right people and all these things are happening, you're going to have the strongest faith to be able to overcome anything that comes your way. So when you start to build real faith and your faith starts to grow because you're in the right environment, around the right people, things start to lose its power. The things you used to do, watching porn, loses its power. Gossiping and talking down on people loses its power. Depression loses room. Anxiety loses room. Laziness loses room in your life because you're in the right environment. Once you're in the right environment, all these things just start to shed off you. If you are planted in the wrong environment, that will give you weak faith. And when you have weak faith, it leaves rooms for people or the enemy to attack. But if you grow like a mustard seed in your faith and you stand firm and you are so dense to the point where there's no cracks, there's no gaps for anything to slip in and take over. Now, don't get me wrong, people and the enemy will still try to attack you, but because your faith is so strong, they're not going to be able to inhabit your environment. Faith that is worked on daily will always beat faith that is just occasional. When you think about it, some people try to go to the gym and just try to lift everything all at once. And yeah, you lifted 10,000 pounds in a day, but you're not going to get results from that. You're just going to be sore at the end of the day. But if you go to the gym and you are only able to lift 10 pounds every day continuously, eventually you're going to cause yourself to become stronger. So faith works the same way. Don't just have faith one time in a huge situation. Have faith every single day, and it's going to spread out, build consistency, and build a firm foundation for your faith. Galatians chapter 6 verse 11 says, put on all the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. So what it's basically saying in this context is that if you put on faith, if you step in and put on the things that are going to protect you, put yourself in the right environment, put yourself in a situation where you grow your faith to be dense, then the devil's schemes, or not just the devil, but everyday people, the person you work with, the coworker, the co-parent, the friend that is trying to cut you down, everything they're trying to cut you down or go against you will not stand. Point number 3 is, can you tolerate frost? And what I mean is, can you tolerate a season that is not in your favor? Real faith produces fruit in every season, even when life is cold. A mustard seed grows in the best soil at around 40 degrees. 40 degrees isn't warm because most seeds and most things have to grow in tropical temperatures, like in the heat. So a mustard seed is a perfect example of our life that we can still produce fruit in the frost in a cold season. The mustard seed can actually withstand frost. So this is a perfect example for our lives, that the frost for a mustard seed equals trials, tribulations, problems, and situations in our life. You're going to be tested when life punches you in the face, not when things are easy. So you're going to have your season where things don't go your way. But the good news is you don't have to be a perfect person. You need to become the person who doesn't fold under pressure, doesn't run from storms or problems, a person who doesn't blame others, and a person who doesn't shut down emotionally. Seasonal faith only works when life is comfortable, but if you have frost-resistant faith, you can grow and be fruitful in every season. Faith proven in storms becomes faith that is trusted forever. If you are able to withstand, like the mustard seed, frost, if you can withstand the frost in your life, the trials, the tribulations, the hectic seasons, the seasons where you lose your job, the seasons where money isn't coming in, the seasons where you're arguing with your husband or with your wife, you can become so strong because you withstood all of the BS that you had to go through. You can withstand and know that everything that you went through, you conquered because you had strong faith. So number 1, you put yourself in the right environment. And once you put yourself in the right environment, you removed all the toxic things and you put yourself in a place where you could grow. And once you grew and you stood on your faith, you were able to grow so dense that nothing that was coming in between you and your faith could stand or remove you from having a stronger faith. Philippians chapter 4, verses 12 and 13 say, I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all things through him who gives me strength. So it's basically saying I've had good seasons and I had bad seasons. I had ups and I had downs. But if I have faith in the one who gives me strength, then I'll be good no matter what the season is, whether it's cold, whether it's hot. It doesn't matter. I'm going to produce fruit. Now remember, God didn't ask us to have this immaculate faith. He asked us to have the faith as a mustard seed. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. So when you fix where you're rooted, God will multiply everything. If you're a man and you're looking for an environment, I have created the right environment where you can grow. It's called the Fatherhood Department. The link will be in the description. Join the community if you want to be a person who is growing in community. Let's go.